Good day, learners. I'm Miss Nonyani. Today we are going to be dealing with transport through time. I know that this is a topic that we've dealt with before, but I wanted us to go through it again since I've seen a few of you struggling with the contents of this topic. But before we can start with our lesson, I'd like us to watch a video and we will continue after watching this video.
Our topic for today is transport. There are mainly three modes of transport: land transport, water transport, and air transport. In land transport, railways are used for carrying a large number of people as well as heavy goods from one place to another. While in roadways, buses, auto rickshaws, cars, etc., travel on road and carry people and goods from one place to another. Water transport is the cheapest means of transport, but it is very time consuming. In water transport, boats and ships are used to carry people and heavy goods from one place to another. Air transport is the fastest and most expensive means of transport. There are two types of airways. Domestic airways operate within the country, while international airways connect different countries to each other.
And that is the end of our video. And let's continue with our lesson. On our video, which modes of transportation did you see? How many modes of transportation did you see? If you said 3, then you are correct. We have 3 modes of transportation. Let us look at the following pictures and determine under which mode of transport they fall. What is this? This is a ship. And a ship, as we all know, travels on water. And next up, we have a plane. This is an airplane. And as we all know, airplanes are up in the air. They travel in the air. And lastly, we have a bicycle. This is a bicycle. You might have one, your friends might own a few, and a bicycle, as we all know, travels on land. Now, moving forward, you'd ask yourself, why is transport so important to us? Well, transport is a way in which people, animals, or goods are carried from one place to another by means of vehicle, aircraft, or a ship. An example would say, transport helps in the production and the distribution of goods. Let's take, for instance, production. How would transport help us in production? Well, in production, let's say, for instance, we are focusing on a farm. Now we will need a tractor to work on the land which we will plant our seed on. And thus, tractor helps us with the production. And for the next phase, the food is there. We are done planting our food. It's all ready. Now we are moving to the next phase, which is distribution. The distribution phase means that our food needs to be transported now from one place to the other. And what do we use in this case? We use a truck. We take our food from the farms, load them in a truck, and then the truck will transport them to our different stores. And now we need a truck to distribute our food. Now, this is why transport is important to us. Now let us look at transport on land. We have animals, carts, wagons, coaches, bicycles, trains, the motor car, and many more others. Let us start off with animals. A long time ago, people tamed animals and trained them to transport goods and people, and animal-drawn transport was very common. Animals such as horses, donkeys, camels, and even dogs were used to pull wagons or carts. Some of these animals were ridden by people, and although oxen were very strong, they were not as fast as the horses. And so people preferred to use these oxen to pull heavy loads. Now let's move on to the earliest modes of transportation. We have carts, wagons, and coaches. And let's start off with carts. Carts are two-wheeled vehicles that are usually pulled by horses. As we can see on our picture there, we have a horse that is pulling a cart. Moving forward, wagons. Wagons are four-wheeled vehicles that are used for heavy loads. Wagons can also be used to carry people. Okay, because wagons carry heavy loads, people chose to use oxen to pull the wagons. And lastly, we have coaches. Coaches are large, usually closed and four-wheeled vehicles. They are used to transport people and are usually pulled by a team of two or more horses. Horses are controlled by a coachman who is the driver of the coach. As we can see on our picture, the coachman is not in the coach, but rather in front of it, and he has a whip which he uses to control the horses. Next up, we have bicycles. These are the olden forms of bicycles. We have a hobby horse, the penny farthing bicycle, and the safety bicycle. Let's start off with the hobby horse. This is the first bicycle that is invented in 1817. This was like more than 200 years ago. It had no pedals like the bicycles today, and you moved it by pushing your feet against the ground. It was completely made out of wood. Moving to the next bicycle. It's called the penny farthing bicycle. Excuse me. This bicycle was invented in 1870 and it had a large front wheel and a small back wheel. Although the front wheel was very high off the ground, the penny bicycle was quite comfortable to ride. Although it was very dangerous because if you were to fall, you would fall with your head fast. Next up, we have the safety bicycle. Now, in 1874, H.J. Lawson invented the first bicycle with the chain. The invention was known as the safety bicycle. It had two wheels of the same size, and these wheels were driven with a chain attached to the back wheel. And this bicycle is not so different from the modern bicycle today. The only difference is that the modern bicycle now has gears and it's made of a much lighter steel. Moving to our next mode of transportation, we have transport on water. We have rafts, reed boats, Chinese junks, Arab dhows, caravels, ship, and many more others. Now, let us look at the earliest mode of transportation. We have rafts as well as reeds. Starting off with the raft. The first rafts were made from materials such as reeds, logs, and planks that were tied together with leaves and branches. This does not look so convincing that I'll take it, but yes, people used to use these on water. Next up, we have reeds. The ancient Egyptians invented boats made of reeds. Bundles of reeds were stirred around to make these boats, and they used them to carry goods as well as passengers. Well, this is a reed looks so much better than a raft, but then it's your choice to choose which one is better. Next up, we have the olden versus the new, which is the modern water transport. On the olden transport, we have a British ship, and we are comparing it to our modern luxury ship. Let us look at the British tall ship. During the 19th century, the British ships were used to transport goods and passengers all over the world. These were fast sailing ships with many tall masts. Well, let us now look at our modern luxury ship. This luxury ship carry only passengers on holiday cruises. They usually have restaurants, swimming pools, as well as cinemas for their passengers. While looking at these two ships, you can see that as time went by, our ship changed. Now let us look at transport in the air. We have balloons, airships, airplanes, helicopters, aeroplanes, rockets, and many more others. You can mention them. Well, let us look at the Wright brothers. These are the brothers who made the first plane. Orville and Wilbur Wright made the first powered and controlled flights in their plane. The brothers had done a lot of research with kites and glitters before they attempted to test their plane. The first flight traveled about 36.5 meters in 12 seconds. There were a total of 4 flights that day, and altogether the plane was in the air for 97 seconds. Now let us look at the older forms of transportation. We have balloons as well as airships. Let us first discuss the balloons. In 1783, two brothers invented the first hot air balloon. A silk bag attached to a large basket was filled with hot air from a fire. The hot air in the bag caused it to be lighter than air. Once enough air was collected in the bag, a ship, roaster, and a dog were transported through the air. This early balloon climbed nearly 2 kilometers and traveled just as far. Now let us look at airships. The first flight took place in France in 1852. Giffard started his invention for 28 kilometers, and in the 1900s, the German company used hydrogen gas to get their airship to glide more through the air. Airships became more popular in the 1930s when passengers could travel across the Atlantic Ocean more faster than they could with a ship. Now, these are the olden forms of transportation. Let us now look at the newest form of air transportation. We have airplanes, hot air balloons, and rockets. As we all know, the Wright brothers are the ones who invented the first plane. And today, this is how our airplane looks like. Very different from the Wright brothers' plane. And also, our hot air balloon have also advanced in many ways. It doesn't look the same way as the first hot air balloon that we had. And also, we now travel to space and we make use of a rocket. Well, transport has changed through time, and this brings us to the end of our lesson. Now, this is the end of our lesson, and we have activities that needs to be done. Please do complete all these three activities. We have a Kahoot, a board game, as well as a worksheet. All these are sent to you on our WhatsApp group, and you can also find them on our Google Doc. Please do these activities and send them back to me. I think latest should be on Friday next week. So please do these activities. And if you do have any inquiries, please do email me and ask your parents to help you when you need to submit your work. Thank you.